The Arizona Cardinals can 100% win on Sunday with the Philadelphia Eagles coming into town. All they've got to do is start fast.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Many different ways. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, through 4 weeks, tied atop and the bottom of the NFC West. The Cardinals are lucky to be 2-2, and that's something that, needs to be understood, that there is a lot of luck involved when it comes to the NFL. Balls need to bounce your way, miraculous comebacks need to happen, and storylines need to be built with players and groups of players that are trustworthy that you didn't necessarily see coming when the season started. It's been a grab bag through the first 4 weeks, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. Again, I'm your host, Alex Clancy. You can follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. The Philadelphia Eagles coming into town, the lone undefeated team left in the NFL. Had a great time talking yesterday with Gino Camilleri, one of the two-headed monster that makes up Locked On Eagles, Louis DiBiase, the other. Check that out on YouTube as well. We had a really good talk. We did over 30 minutes of just really good Eagles v. Cardinals talk. So many different, nuances that are paralleled between the two teams. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, both Oklahoma quarterbacks. Kyler Murray obviously had more clout and pressure coming in with the being the number one overall pick and winning the Heisman. It's just been the emergence of Jalen Hurts as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL through 4 weeks is just, you don't necessarily root for other teams, but you've got to look and see that the more good young quarterbacks there are in the NFL, the better the product of the NFL will be. And Jalen Hurts seems to be emerging as another one. And the NFL is in really good shape when it comes to young quarterbacks. The Cardinals have one in Kyler Murray. There's a couple things the Cardinals need to do to stay in and potentially win this game on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. There are a lot of things that the Philadelphia Eagles have been very good at through 4 weeks. And the Cardinals, when good, are just at the level of any other team in the NFL. The frustrating part has been the ups and downs. And I feel like on Sunday, this is when things can get put together. The Cardinals have not won a game at home since October 21st. I think that's going to change, if not on Sunday, soon. They're 2-0 on the road, 0-2 at home. It's one of the bigger anomalies surrounding the Arizona Cardinals organization. But going into this game, there are things that need to get done, one of which is starting fast. I've talked about this a lot, and I don't think it's a novel or an original idea. They've had slow starts, and once they've kicked it into gear, it's like, sweet, keep this rolling. Let's use this momentum through the week, get it into the start of the next week when the game starts, and move that way. The halftime adjustments I talked about a lot, that really acted as the catalyst for the Cardinals pulling out a victory in Carolina in week 4. I would love to see those adjustments being made during the first kickoff right before and not the second kickoff to kick off the second half. Imagine if the Cardinals started fast. Imagine if the offense was clicking like it has in the second half of 2.5 of the 3 games that we've seen. Imagine if the defense and the offensive line, although they're on different sides of the ball, played strong and tough early on. Because Philadelphia is coming into town and they're good. They've got a deep roster. They're 2 deep at pretty much every position on defense. They've got 2 of the best corners in football on the same team, James Bradbury and Darius Slay. This is going to be a litmus test for both teams for kind of different reasons. 4-0 or 5-0 and 4-1, 2 very different things. 2-3 and 3-2 for the Cardinals, 2 vastly different things. And there's going to be a lot of, let's see what's the truth from what we've seen from both teams. Is Jalen Hurts as good as a 4-0 record, or have they played kind of a cupcakey schedule? Is Kyler Murray really just coming into his own after not playing in the preseason and really trying to figure things out with Hollywood Brown and Zach Ertz and how the other pieces will fit around him on offense? James Conner has gotten off to a slow start. The offensive line has been Jekyll and Hyde-ish. Like, what's real and what's not? We're going to find out. But if the Cardinals want to stay in this game, I think they will start fast for the first time. What does that mean by start fast? And I'm going to get into particulars. I'll get into my game prediction in the final segment. I'll get into the real keys to victory for the Cardinals in the second segment. Starting fast means having sustained drives offensively, because the offense is going to be, the anchor for this team. The offense is going to be how this team goes. The defense sets the table. The offense eats the food. The defense sets the table. The offense eats the other team's food, I guess you could say. I don't know. I'm still working. It's a working title. It's a working metaphor. But defense sets the table. The offense takes care of business. And the offense has at times looked like we saw last year. And that's the frustrating part. It's like, that's in there. That's in there. Like, the offense that we saw for the first 6.5 weeks of last season, that's in there here. And DeAndre Hopkins coming back in week 7 is obviously going to help with that. But, like, the Cardinals have plenty of talent on the offensive side of the ball to make it happen. And we just need to see it happen for 60 minutes and not 30. And I don't know what it is. I don't. I mean, that's one of the frustrating parts, is that you don't know where the leak is in the boat. Is it Kyler Murray not being able to go through his progressions? Is it the offensive line not giving him the time? Is it the offensive line need to give Kyler Murray more time than giving a 6'7" quarterback because Kyler Murray needs more time because he's not 6'7"? I don't know. Is it Kliff Kingsbury's inability to call a game plan? I don't know. We don't know. You can predict, you can look, you can see, you can read tea leaves. I was going to announce this on Sunday morning. I'm going to announce it now. I'm putting on a moratorium for a month of talking negatively about Kliff Kingsbury, starting now. So from now through November 6th, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Doesn't matter. 30 days. I will not be saying one negative thing about Kliff Kingsbury. And hopefully that will be what washes us of what we've seen down the stretch in the last 2 seasons. And I think it's time. I think it'll be a nice cleanse. And we will do that from October 6th to November 6th. You heard it here first. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. What are the keys to victory for the Cardinals on Sunday? The Eagles have one of the better defenses in the NFL. They may have the best offensive line in the NFL. Hassan Reddick coming into town. Darius Slade, James Bradbury. Miles Sanders is looking like what people thought he was going to look like coming out of college. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. They've got weapons on both sides of the ball. What do the Cardinals need to do to pull out a victory on Sunday? I'm going to talk about it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. First, all right, here's a sports analogy for you. Okay, when it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster. That's why I use and trust SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who have your back always, so you always know your home is safe. With that 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police on first responders in an emergency, even if you're not at home or can't be reached, which is huge. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. The Arizona Cardinals are in a position in week 5 to really remind everybody and themselves what the first 7 through 12 weeks of last season to start was like. Because I feel like people forget and completely write off what the Cardinals did to start 10-2. They were lambasting teams. They were absolutely punishing teams on both sides of the ball. And sure, Minnesota put up I think it was a 31 burger, a 32 burger. Greg Joseph missed a 35 or 37-yard field goal that allowed the Cardinals to start 3-0. But that stuff has to happen. That stuff happens all the time. And the only time you really notice it is when it's a team that you're covering and that you're a fan of. Like, really, it's like, well, or like you look at other teams, oh, they got lucky because this, and this. It's not luck. It's football. These are human beings who aren't 100% perfect at what they do every second. And, some luck is involved, like the Cardinals coming back against the Raiders. It wasn't all luck, but man, a lot of things needed to go the right way for the Cardinals to get a victory. And it happened. And there are very few quarterbacks that could have executed that and facilitated the Cardinals being in a position to win. And Kyler Murray happens to be one of them. He's lucky for us that he's the quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. Keys to victory for the Cardinals. And I think it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty straightforward. And it's going to come down to the offensive and defensive lines. The offensive line is going up against its toughest test this season. You could say, oh, well, what about Aaron Donald? Aaron Donald and some average guys. Okay. This front is legit. Hassan Reddick is now a bona fide star pass rusher. He's coming home for the first time since the last 2 seasons in Carolina last year and Philly, where he got his cheese this season. He's realized his potential, and his potential has been realized, and he is now a bona fide star. The offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals needs to protect Kyler Murray. That's first and foremost. Because the Cardinals are a team that could win in the 30s and win in the teens. They are. It's not ideal. I mean, there are not every NFL team could win in a shootout. The Cardinals could win in a shootout. The Cardinals could also, 20-13, 20-12. I mean, the Rams game could have gone either way. Cardinals put up two touchdowns instead of kicking 2 field goals. They win that game, But the offensive line needs to be the best it's been this season to protect Kyler Murray, give him time to go through his progressions and find an open receiver. And I don't know what the game plan is going to be. Gino, I was talking with Gino from Locked On Eagles last night. Like, I don't know. They don't are they going to make Kyler Murray a passer and give away the run, or give away the run, or vice versa? Are they going to allow Kyler Murray to throw the ball over the yard and stop the run, which allows corner's job? Like, there's so many different ways to defend the Cardinals, and so what am I trying to say here? Jeez, I have something written down that I completely went away from. Little inside podcasting there, 101. Not everybody's perfect. Make the Cardinals run the ball and allow Kyler Murray to throw the ball 50 times and, keep everything in front of them, or give up the run and make Kyler Murray's life as close to a living hell as they, can try to do by having Darius Slay and James Bradbury just lock down Marquise Brown and whoever else. I mean, Zach Ertz or Rondé Moore, whoever they're going to be lined up against. There's there's just different ways, but having Kyler Murray protected is the best way for the Cardinals to stay in this game. It is, because even if the defense gets run roughshod all over, if you protect Kyler Murray, the Cardinals offense can put up points. They can. It hasn't been shown completely through this year, but we've seen enough to where it's like we saw last week. It's here. And the Cardinals and Kyler Murray starting to get into midseason form with a little malaise that started this season. And I don't think it's fair to look at the Chiefs game as anything other than they didn't play in the preseason. The Chiefs offense is really good. And I think that we could just salt that away, cross it off, not even have it as a talking point from now on, because it's week 1. It's not an excuse. It's nothing else. It's not a reason. It's week 1. Shut it down. The other thing that the Cardinals need to do is not have the Eagles run for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. They've got a bunch of weapons back there. Miles Sanders is really coming to his own, as I talked earlier in the first segment. He had a monster game last week. He hasn't been healthy. He had a case of the dropsies pretty much his entirety of his career in the NFL. They've got Kenneth Gainwell. They've got Boston Scott. They've got Jalen Hurts. I'd much rather, even though Jalen Hurts has shown massive strides in this category, you're choosing a lesser of two evils. I'd rather him throw the ball 40 times and live with it. Rather have him throw the ball 40 times and live with it. Because like death by 1,000 cuts, eating clock, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12-yard chunk gains at a time running the ball. I'd rather the run defense for the Cardinals have the best game of the year and live with Jalen Hurts chopping them up, throwing the ball. And again, this is lesser of two evils. Like Jalen Hurts has become a good thrower of the football on top of his ability to be very elusive. He's very fast. He's strong. He's very smart. Like he's very Kyler Murray in that regard. When he runs the ball, he always knows where he is. He always knows where he is. And that's not always the case. Lamar Jackson's like that also, but not everybody's like, run, run, run. Oh, what's going on? Where am I going to get hit? Like Jalen Hurts is very composed. And I'd much rather see him throw the ball a lot than him have, 9 rushes for 60 yards and a touchdown. And then Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell have 25 total carries for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Like that is going to be a huge litmus test for the Cardinals. Inside the massive litmus test that is this game, can they stop a team that is still run first? The lines are getting a little bit more blurred now, but they're still a run first offense, especially if they can do it as effectively behind the offensive line that they've got. Like, this is going to be Zach Allen. This is going to be J.J. Watt. This is going to be Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons' tackling ability in the second level. This is going to be a very, very important test for Vance Joseph, where if they're going to run the ball a lot, his blitz schemes become null and void. And it's going to set up the play action if they can run effectively. It's going to be like a domino effect if they're able to run the ball early. So when I said the lines, defensive line, offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, this is their game to show that they're better than what we've seen through the first 4 weeks at times. The offensive line in the second half of week 4 was incredible. Incredible. Gave Kyler Murray a tea party time is what I call it in the backfield. He was able to go through his progression. Like if you give Kyler Murray 3 or 4 seconds, he'll pick defenses apart. Stop the run, protect Kyler Murray is a pathway to get the Cardinals to winning a game on Sunday at State Farm Stadium, their first win, which would be since mid-October of 2021. If you want to look for a turning point in this season for the Cardinals, it could very well be Sunday if they execute properly and from the opening kickoff and not, come out of the gates a little bit slower like we've seen so far this season. And I think they're well equipped to do it. Alex Lindsay, Locked On Cardinals. Game predictions. I'm going to talk about BetOnline. I'll talk about the line next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. BetOnline.net, -5.5 for the Eagles. They're laying 5.5. Cardinals are getting 5.5 points. It's a weird line. Like I've listened to the radio here and there when I'm driving around, and this is kind of like a fade game because we have no idea. Like the Eagles, if the Eagles come in and beat the Cardinals by 20, it's like, okay, the Eagles are legit. If the Cardinals come in and beat the Eagles by 10 or 13, it's like, oh, well, what do we know? What's up and down? What is the NFL? Everything's a lie. Like we have no idea, but this is a true, just pivotal game for both teams for different reasons, but obviously somewhat of the same reasons. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting football betting this season, whether it's info, podcast, player development, team matchups, news, in-depth articles, analysis, whatever. BetOnline.net has got you covered. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, getting to the playoffs, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to BetOnline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. The offensive and defensive lines for the Arizona Cardinals must perform at an optimal level if the Cardinals want to win on Sunday. That's what it's going to come down to, because what we've seen so far is Zaven Collins is really coming into his own. Okay. He's not so much a question mark anymore as okay, now we need you to elevate this defense. We need to see you elevate this defense. Vance Joseph says to him, or he says to himself, or Steve Keim, whoever the we is in that scenario. Byron Murphy really coming into his own. Like, I said a lot this offseason. There's a lot of ifs on this roster, namely on the defense. If Byron Murphy can take that step, this defense will be borderline elite, or could be. If Zaven Collins takes that step forward, this team could be borderline elite. If Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker can continue their play to be one of the best safety duos in the NFL. If, because there were very few constants, this will happen. You can trust this player week in and week out. These things are sure things. J.J. Watt, if is health. Marcus Golden's if is, can he replicate last season? Will this pass rush by committee work? And numbers, stats-wise, it hasn't, like sack totals, it hasn't. But massive turnovers by the defense, obviously the Byron Murphy walk-off. There's been turnovers that the Cardinals have forced at very opportune times that led to victory, which you have to give the Cardinals defense credit for. But the ifs, two of the biggest ones were Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. If I've been wrong about Isaiah Simmons, I thought he was going to take that Pro Bowl step. He may still, it's still very early on in the season, but Zaven Collins has looked to be one of the solidified forces on this defense. And that is a bright spot that cannot be undervalued. I was a huge, I thought he was a huge question mark. He looked lost in the preseason. He did. He looked lost in the preseason. He had a couple tackle for losses, but he looked lost. And now he looks found. And now he looks like what people thought he could being drafted in the first round, last year. Or two drafts ago. Will the Cardinals win on Sunday? I can't say that they will. I need to see it first. If the Cardinals beat Carolina by more, if they played, like if they put up two scores in the first half and then had the second half that they did, I would pick the Cardinals to win on Sunday. I would. But we haven't seen them play a good first half yet this year. And this is a team where you cannot afford to not come out and play hot and play fast and be ready to roll right when kickoff starts. I need to see it first. And I think that's fair. I don't think that's irrational. I need to see it. I think the Cardinals will cover that 5.5. I don't know what the score is going to be. It'll probably be in the 40s, 24-21, 24-20, something like that. I think the Cardinals offense will start to continue its solidifying of being the strength of this team. I think the defense is going to continue to get better. And what this truly will be is that litmus test for the future of this season. If the Cardinals can get a W against the only undefeated team left at home with the NFL watching in the afternoon slate, this is going to pay huge dividends for the team in the future. If the Cardinals don't win and it's not close, this is going to bring up the uncomfortable conversations. What's wrong? Why isn't this working? I mean, if it's a close game and it's a field goal game, whatever, that's almost as good as a win for the Cardinals. If this is a close game and they win or lose, you go toe-to-toe with the last undefeated team, regardless of if they're the best team in the NFL or not. They're still the last undefeated team, and you're hosting the last undefeated team. If it's a close game and it's a field goal here or there, that's the NFL. If they lose by 17 or 20, that's a lot different story than it being last possession. And they're within 3 points of winning or losing a game. If the Cardinals win, this will really wash away week 1 and what was a lot closer game in week 3 than people give the Cardinals credit for. Even though the Rams didn't play very well, the Cardinals didn't play very well offensively, not being able to get in the end zone. Kyler Murray missed 2 wide open receivers, 2 open tight ends, Trey McBride and Zach Ertz. He flew one past Zach Ertz. Trey McBride was wide open if he had looked through his progressions instead of throwing down to James Conner short. Like, the Cardinals, you could say the Cardinals should have lost week 2 and won week 3, and the record would have been the same. The record would have been the same. They beat the Rams, lose to the Raiders. The records would have been the same. Going into Sunday, if the Cardinals can get a W against the last undefeated team, regardless if the team is the best team in the NFL or not, they're playing like it through 4 weeks. If the Cardinals can get a victory on Sunday, it will be a huge pivotal moment for this team for the rest of the 2020 NFL season, and here's hoping that happens. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked on Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. Now make your second listen Peacock and Williamson. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson do a great job, 5 days a week, national stories. You want to check them out, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Check me out halftime on Twitter Spaces and on YouTube like always, and postgame. I will talk to you at halftime Sunday, hopefully with a huge positive bevy of storyline to talk about when the Cardinals put up a couple scores for the first time in the first half this season. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. I'll talk to you on Sunday.